This team went from its best wide receivers being George Pickens, Josh Downs, and Deontay Johnson. They were flexing Jake Ferguson and Jordan Mason. And look at it now. Best receivers, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins, flexing Derrick Henry and DJ Moore. And how much time has passed since these two screenshots of these teams?
6 months.
How do you turn a hard rebuild in your dynasty leagues into a contending team, not in 1 year, not in 2 years? We give 2 years for hard rebuild, but in one offseason. We're going to tell you how you can do it. We're going to show you the examples of how it's done. And we're also going to start by telling you this. It's not common. Okay, we rarely see this. I asked for people to, because I know we had this one from our boy GH Steele. Shout out GH Steele. I asked for some other ones from some of our other, supporters, and really I couldn't replicate what he's been able to do. But the reason that a lot of times you can't replicate this is because the fact of the matter is you're not putting yourselves in situations from a league playing standpoint to do so. The one thing you have to make sure of before you even start doing this is when you join a league, make sure you join a very active league, right? Make sure you join a league with people from the domain Discord or join a domain league or something like that. Join it from, I wouldn't recommend going and joining Reddit leagues or sleeper leagues or anything like that because they tend to just fall off after a year, right? And so join an active league so that if you get in a rebuild, you can actually get out of the rebuild. Because here's the one thing, here's the one caveat with hard rebuilds. There's not much you can do if your league doesn't trade. Because the best way to get out of a hard rebuild in Dynasty Fantasy Football is to make trades constantly. That is literally the key to everything here. And so we're going to talk about some different types of trades. We're going to give you some examples of types of trades that you can make, how you should be approaching them, and give you a full walkthrough of how you can rebuild your Dynasty team, because I know some of you guys have hard rebuilds, in a very short amount of time, or at least know how to do it effectively. You could do this exact same process over a year and have the same result. So here we go. Step one, and we're going to talk about marketplace here, and you're going to be like, I have heard this a million times from you guys.
This is different.
This is different. This is not the same.
I'm telling you. Just
bear with us.
hang on.
So you need to understand how to approach it in the offseason, pre-draft versus post-draft, because there's really two separate areas of trading. We talk about the pre-draft market versus the post-draft market. Pre-draft,
a whole different ballgame.
You are everybody is focused on what? Rookie picks, right? Rookies and rookie picks. You should be obsessed with small value wins, and we actually calculated for all of these trades that he made. First of all, from January to June, he has made 20 total trades, okay? So you do the math, that's approximately, 3 to 5 trades a month, right, is what it ended up being on average.
That's not that insane.
It's not. That's like that ends up being one trade a week, okay? So if you make one trade a week in your dynasty trade or in your dynasty leagues, I would do it. But we talked about the small value wins. This is really what we say on every single hard rebuild blueprint that we do. Because ultimately, and we've used this illustration before, but since Becca's going to edit this video for us, I'm going to go ahead and have her put the illustration back in. You have to look at your team as a accumulation of value, okay? So say that a contending team has to have 75 or more value points, and a rebuilding team has 20 or less value points. Because really what value is currency that you use to contend. You can spend all the value you accumulate on assets that will help you contend, and then you can withstand their depreciating value because you already have the value around it to support it, right? And so the example goes like this. Say you're a rebuild and you have a total of 15 value points. Let's call them value points for the sake of this argument, right? The only way to get the value or the currency to go spend on contending assets is to get more value, right? And how do you do that? A lot of people are going to be like, okay, the reason hard rebuild, a lot of people quit dynasty leagues because they're like, they try to get big value wins and then they quit when they can't. When in reality, small market value wins are easily attainable, right? Here's some examples of small market value wins. If you want to pull these up for me, since you've got the screenshots that GH Steele made on his team. What's an example of a small market value win? I have the CJ Stroud trade on here as one of the.
So one of the first moves that he actually made is we recommended that he move off his CJ Stroud down tier from him, get multiple assets in return. He actually ended up getting multiple rookie picks in return. He got the 103 and the 109. Those of you who know now, the 103 ended up being Omarion Hampton or Travis Hunter, whoever falls there in that tier. The 109 ends up being your choice of Warren, Caleb Johnson, Harvey, Igbuka. So, I mean, the 103 was going in startup drafts, is going right now in startup drafts right around where CJ Stroud is alone. You're getting the 109 on top. So
ahead recently.
That ended up being a nice small value win there, at the very least.
Another example of a small value win that he made here was trading for T. Higgins. He gave away the 106, which is going about a round and a half to 2 rounds after T. Higgins in Dynasty startup drafts. He gave the 106 in Juwan Jennings and
the 210.
the 210 for T. Higgins. That is an example of a small value win, right? You know, that you're just taking a little bit. And then the last small value win example I had here was his Dak trade.
This is probably my favorite small value win trade. Dak and a 26 first is what he got. He gave up Bryce and 227 seconds. I mean, in reality, Bryce and Dak are going in the same value range right now in Dynasty, which is, to me, kind of crazy. And then he gives up 2 future 27 seconds. People value multiple 27 seconds over a singular 26 first. So I guess that's technically a market value lateral move. For a lot of people, that's a small value win at the very least for us.
Okay, so looking at all 20 trades that he made, 9 of them were small market value wins, and 7 of them were lateral moves. So 16 out of the 20, and then there was 1 market value loss. So 17 out of the 20 moves he made were no more than a small market value win.
Takeaway number 1. To turn a hard rebuild into a contending team, you do not have to get, because people I'm sure saw at the very beginning of this video, oh, well, that's the outlier of outliers. Oh, that guy must be in a league with a bunch of idiots.
No.
A lot of these moves aren't idiot moves for the other end of the trade. You might have an opinion on which side you think is better. A lot of people might have differing opinions on a lot of the trades that he's made here. I mean, if you join the Discord, I'm sure he'd be happy to show you guys all the trades that he did make, all 20 and all the details. You'd be like, yeah, maybe I prefer the side that he gave up. Guys, we talk about how important small value wins are. This is case in point why. Small market value wins add up. Add up to a point where they can turn a hard rebuild into a contender in 6 months. Stop swinging for the fences, guys. It took a while for baseball to figure this out, but you don't win games by swinging, by trying to hit home runs. You win games by getting the first base, right? And that's what he's doing time after time after time here. Half the time he got a small market value win. He only got a big market value win 3 times. And they were big market value wins, but it's not like it was, 6 trades that he made that were just stupid.
Since you use an analogy, I do want to inform you because somebody commented this on one of the videos.
Yeah.
You used an analogy a couple of videos ago about tires and tread.
I got it backwards.
Yeah.
I totally did.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that tread was a good thing on a
yes,
tire.
Okay.
I'm just making sure we knew
I
that.
saw it and I was like, did I say that?
Yeah.
I said that.
It was all right. But Marketplace, again, the one thing that he did right here and the one thing that you should do for your hard rebuild teams or just your one-year rebuild teams is you don't worry one bit about your starting lineup. This guy didn't care who was starting. He didn't care what his roster looked like. He only cared about, we literally told him, I've never seen somebody take this approach as literal as he did, which it is designed to be taken 100% literal. Nothing matters but value wins. Nothing else matters. Team need doesn't matter. If it's value win, you take it. And it doesn't mean that you can't trade away a player and then trade for them again because it happened multiple times here with this team.
Yeah.
There's only so many players on the block in Dynasty Leagues. There's only so many players you can trade for. And in this example, he didn't care enough to where he traded a player away, would trade for them again, and trade him away again.
I'm pretty sure he had a player on his team on 2 different occasions and ended up with him no longer on his roster after that still. So he traded him 3 or 4 different times.
And guess what? It didn't matter 0%. It mattered 0%. So you got to get your overall roster to a serviceable level, at least middle of the pack. And we're looking at this roster in particular. I mean, when we're talking about his original blueprint that he got here in January, we gave him a 6, 3, 3, and 3. And again, these are positional grades. It's a combination, a weighted combination of the value at that position, the total value, dynasty value, based on their current market value trends, and also our opinion on how the room is built, right? But it's mostly value, right? Yeah. The infinite is all value. This is some of our opinion, but it was 6, 3, 3, 3. So we had him as a hard rebuild. Again, his starting lineup when you're looking at it: Stroud, James Cook, Aaron Jones, George Pickens, Josh Downs, Deontay Johnson, Cade Otton, Jake Ferguson, Jordan Mason, and Baker Mayfield. I mean, you're talking about a hard rebuild there. And he had 1 first and 25, 1 first and 26. So it's not like he was loaded with draft picks. It was a true hard rebuild, right? And so when you're looking at his positional grades, what he was able to do is take this roster from a 6 at quarterback, a 3 at running back, a 3 at wide receiver, and a 3 at tight end. So 6, 3, 3, 3 to a 5, 8, 8, 3. And so what you'll notice here is okay, actually the tight end stayed exactly the same and the quarterback actually went down 1. Exactly. And why is that? And we've talked about this in our new startup videos, but basically you can afford to start. His quarterback room is Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott. You can contend very, very comfortably and not have top 5 value at the QB position in your dynasty.
Now, I wouldn't advise having Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields.
No, but again, it's from that range of QBs that perform as QB1s.
Right.
and you get them way cheaper, 4th, 5th round, right? And so you go and stack those QBs, and his tight end, look, he's still upgraded tight end. He went from K. Dot to David Njoku. So he honestly, like, going from Stroud and Mayfield to Mayfield and Dak, that's a lateral move. From a production standpoint, that's a lateral move. From a value standpoint, he lost a little bit of value. That's why we bumped him down a little bit. But we're trying to contend, right? At the point where he knew he could contend, we're talking about this being a very good lineup. And again, at tight end, he made an upgrade. But here's one of the key points of this video. In order to go from rebuilding to contending on your dynasty team, your quarterback, your tight end, you can ultimately get away with contending without bolstering those from a value standpoint. But where did his value just completely flip-flop? These two pictures are inverse of each other, almost exact inverses of each other. He went from 3-3 at running back and wide receiver to 8-8. And again, this goes back to our overarching theme of the last couple of videos we've had from a strategy standpoint. Your dynasty fantasy football leagues right now are won at the running back and wide receiver positions, in particular your flex positions, which are your 3rd and 4th starting running backs and wide receivers that you can flex. That's where you win. Because when you look at this roster, Baker, Kyron, Josh Jacobs, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins, David Njoku, Derrick Henry, DJ Moore, and Dak Prescott. You can't look me in the eyes and tell me that's not a contending team. It's a contending team for 2 years. And we'll keep talking about how he got there, but I think this is just a good example of how to play the market and what actual market plays you need to get. What's the goal here? The goal should be to increase your running back and wide receiver spots, increase the value at those two positions, because that's really where fantasy leagues are won, still to this day, even in Superflex.
Yeah, and I hope this really helps for a lot of you guys that are in hard rebuilds right now. We always talk about market plays and how important they are and gaining value on your team. This is really a practical example of how this can be done and how we're helping you guys do this over at vlogfantasy.com/domain to help you through these blueprints and how to really get through your hard rebuild into a contending team. Again, it starts at market plays and it doesn't end there, right? That's just your first step. And you can get to step 2 where you turn value into production a lot sooner than some people expect in a hard rebuild. I mean, a hard rebuild by definition is a 2-year, multi-year rebuild at the very least. We've seen people get out of that a lot sooner than expected. Once you acquire the value necessary to compete, like this example right here, compete. Stop dragging your feet. Like, seriously, if we give you a hard rebuild archetype or you're looking at a multi-year rebuild right in the face and you get enough small value wins to a point where you're like, dang, I have all this value on my team, but it's only at the wide receiver position. I have like 10 wide receivers that all have significant value. Maybe I should start investing in other positions. I'm looking pretty good at quarterback. I'm all insulated there. I can start looking at tight end. I can start looking at running back. Oh, wait, I'm competing. I'm contending this year. You don't have to be the number 1 valued team in your league until you're comfortable to really go for it as a contending team, right? You're going from a hard rebuild. You can be middle of the pack value-wise, and you can have enough assets to really start contending. And don't sacrifice all of your insulation to do it, but also realize that, like, don't forget that winning money is pretty cool, and that's the reason that you play Dynasty, just like in fantasy football. Rookie picks, developmental young assets, trashy depth, move it all for starting asset difference makers. By the time you get to this point where you've dramatically changed your positional grades, start looking at that depth. Start looking at guys like who we like. We like George Pickens and Aaron Jones. We saw a deal here that was a lateral move where he moved George Pickens and Aaron Jones, and he got Derrick Henry. You guys know how we feel about Derrick Henry. You guys know Derrick Henry is the ultimate unicorn, right? 31 years old, just had another 2,000-yard rushing yard season. He's not slowing down. He's in the best position of his career.
Derrick unicorn.
You just went from Aaron Jones or George Pickens in your flex spot to Derrick Henry in your last flex spot. That's called raising the production upside of your starting lineup. That's called raising the production upside of your flex spots, which is one of the key things here. And if your flex spot upside, this is one of the biggest ways you can tell as a team that's gone from a hard rebuild to a contending team, or a future value or reload to a contending team sooner than expected. If you look at your flex spots and your production upside is well above average, you're contending. Pending quarterback security or insulation, like if you have Justin Fields as your QB1 and you have pretty good flex spots, you're probably going to want to address QB before you start loading up on more productive running backs. But like pending QB security, you're a contending team, guys, if your flex spot upside is there. And it absolutely is here in this example. Oh, and by the way, his depth is Olave and RJ Harvey. We haven't even scratched the surface of what his production upside opportunity really could be in the long term with those guys that aren't even touching a starting lineup right now. They're just bonuses. And there's a caveat to this, like make sure that you're not moving all of your young assets for productive vets. That doesn't mean you throw away all of your cornerstone insulation. We're not just flipping all of our strategy and game theory. This all still applies. This is more like case by case analysis. There are cases where it's worth moving a younger asset like George Pickens for a high production upside running back like Derrick Henry. There are other cases, in this exact case, for example, where you can trade some future picks for a guy like Drake London, who is a cornerstone wide receiver, right? And he's very young. So you don't want to just move everyone for a bunch of vets. You don't want to move every old asset for a bunch of young guys when you're a team like this that maybe doesn't have the best draft capital score anymore, but it's worth it at this point because you're going to be probably a top contender in your league. Is this team going to win the championship this year? I don't know. There's a lot of parity in the playoffs. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I will say that we have done everything within our power, and we will continue to do everything within our power to help him play the market and to make more moves like this so that he can optimize his opportunity heading into the playoffs this season. Production has value in season as well, and I kind of want to look at the flip side here when you're turning value into production. A lot of times people only consider one side of the coin. Flipping youth, cornerstone value, future picks for productive assets has some risk involved. I totally admit that. There's a reason that we tell guys that are truly rebuilding, truly reloading to go invest in future picks and future young assets that have long-term upside. I totally get that. But don't ignore the fact that productive assets have value in season, guys. If you are a team that is looking to compete, if you're like, man, I have enough roster value finally to compete, I'm going to make these moves for these productive assets, you're not dead in the water in terms of value. Production carries value in season. If you, worst case scenario, let's explore the worst case scenario for your team. You think you're competing, you go for it. You're at week 8 and you are 3-5. And you're like, honestly, my outlook for the rest of the season isn't looking that great. I think I'm going to fold now before I'm really, really screwed, and I'm going to reload for an off season. No problem. You're 3-5. You have productive vets on your team. Offload them for future picks. At the worst case scenario, you're back to where you were in June before you decided to make those competing moves.
Scenario.
What was that, Nathan? What's the correct pronunciation of that word?
What, scenario?
Scenario.
Scenario.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
I was just having a moment with the camera and
yeah, and you ruined it because you're saying scenario.
Scenario is just as fine.
Scenario sounds like some alter ego of Mario and Wario. That's what it sounds like.
Wario.
Scenario is the new one.
Well,
it's not Wario.
Ironically, they're Mario and Wario. Scenario, bro.
That's what I'm saying, though.
That's what I'm saying.
It's scenario. I just played it. It's from the internet.
All right, man.
Okay, so anyways, I did want to make this. Will you see the my teams for this league? I want to see if there's any like super dominant teams in this league because I feel like if there were super duper dominant teams, we wouldn't be recommending that he even contend.
Yeah,
and it's really not. I mean, it's pretty balanced.
No,
right?
There's a couple good teams here, but I mean, you're looking at this guy. He's got dual elite QB. His tight ends are no better. He has Tucker Kraft and Johnny. This guy has Njoku, JT Walker. So his running back room not nearly as good as this roster we're looking at, and then his wide receiver room is his strength: CD, Marv, AJ Brown, and then a drop off after that.
I think his team is probably in better contending shape than that.
He's just as good of a contender as that
now,
team.
Now, obviously, that team is better because it has his future picks. Correct. And again, what I want to say, and kind of my point here is, this is by no means a perfect team. This is not even a...
There's a reason we picked this team, guys. We were trying to find a relatable example. Like I said earlier about the small value wins, this isn't a home league, a family home league, where you've got one guy who knows what he's doing and the rest of the field is just, for lack of a better term, just kind of stupid. And this is one where, like... This is a relatively even league across the board where I would assume most of these guys in the league know what they're doing for the most part. But at the end of the day, this is a pretty serious league where he was able to turn this into a contending team essentially overnight.
And again, year 3, we have him as a rebuild. Why? Because here's the thing. A lot of you guys are going to get in the comments be like, this team isn't really even that good. You've got Baker and Dak, and he's not even good. And again, no, this is a contending team. If you don't think so, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have no clue what to tell you. And again, you've got Olave and Harvey on the bench. I mean, some solid guys. But again, this is not a perfect team. We have him as a rebuild in year 3, has 0 draft capital. He's well-rounded. He's not even close to a high-end well-rounded. And so we're not looking at this team and saying this is an amazing team. But this is a championship caliber team. You could build championship caliber teams with middle-of-the-road value. if, again, you focus on running back and wide receiver and your flex spot upside.
And
Now,
guess what he focused on first before he even considered contention? It was wide receiver. And this is how you acquire some of the bigger value wins, like Lab McConkey for the 108 and the 111. Drake London he got for kind of a lateral move, but ended up being nice because he got another cornerstone wide receiver that we recommended he acquire, and it was worth investing. T. Higgins is a wide receiver 3. I mean, come on, that's pretty awesome. DJ Moore, wide receiver 4 in your flex spot. Yes, please. Olave as your wide receiver 5.
I mean,
okay,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty dang good.
And again, it's not a perfect team, but if he wins the championship, none of this matters.
None of it matters.
Nothing matters.
That's the whole point.
You win the championship, and he's put himself in as good a spot as anybody. Not to mention the team building process, the team refinement process, the rebuilding process doesn't stop when you have a contending team. Because our advice to him now, as he gets a lot of blueprints, and so our advice on further blueprints, especially going into next season, are going to be heavily centered around him maintaining value installation in his most important positions, so he doesn't get into a hard rebuild. In fact, he might end up being a reload in year 2.
Yep.
And we might say, you know what? You've got Kyron, you've got Jacobs, you've got Henry. They're going to be good. They're probably going to maintain their value for this year, hopefully. And when they do, it might be a good time to just next year plan on reloading and maybe accidentally contend, or just take a reload year and have it. So it might end up being a contend, which is, again, a new 3-year outlook that I've been signing petitions for to get into our official domain theory document, because a contend, reload, contend is not a bad idea, especially if you win the league. I do this all the time. I win a league, and I'm like, I won the league, and my team sucks. I did this many times this year.
It's the best time to reload.
I'll just reload real quick. And
I think that ultimately is a moral of the story here. Like, if you have a roster that is really, really struggling, and you make enough moves, guys, like, the time is now if you have the value. And just understand that rebuilds do take time. They can end sooner than expected. But not every hard rebuild is going to take as short as 6 months for you to get through, right? A lot of teams realistically will take multiple years. Some teams take 3 years. I am in the midst of a hard rebuild right now that I can't get out of, and it's going to take me 2, if not 3 years to finally get out of it. That's just the reality for some teams. And you know why? Because the league is not very active. I cannot make freaking trades.
It's everything for a rebuild is making sure you have an active league.
Yeah. But the idea here is not to tell you that every single team can get out of a hard rebuild in 6 months. There's a reason a hard rebuild is called a hard rebuild, and we try to bake into the fact that it's going to require a little bit of patience to get out of it.
This guy overachieved by 2 years.
You can't overachieve, and it's all about the marketplace. It's all about playing the market. It's all about, once you get that value that you need to accumulate, turning it into production so that you can contend sooner than you initially expected. And remember that winning money is very, very cool. So what now? It's June right now. Because this is a team that started in January that we've been helping since January all the way through June. So now you're like, well, I'm kind of past the point of turning a hard rebuild into a contending team for 2025. Number one, you might be right. Number two, it's never too late to start making these market plays, guys. We are in the second half of the offseason, which is just as effective as the first half of the offseason pre-draft to play the market and get small value wins. We are a month away from training camp. From training camp hype, from training camp news. Every single year, we get something about some name, some dude that you've never heard of in your life that all of a sudden has value, and you hear all this news about J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins getting first-team snaps for the Denver Broncos. You get R.J. Harvey at 75% of the price tag that he was before the J.K. Dobbins news. Those are the types of examples there. Take advantage of the training camp hype. Training camp hype is your best friend right now, and that's going to be your best bet to get enough value wins to maybe not compete this year in 2025, because fair, it might be too late at June 16th when we're recording this video until the season starts, but you can get a lot dang closer to competing way sooner than you expected as a hard rebuild if you start these types of moves and these types of market wins now.
And again, this guy, like I said, he overachieved by 2 full years. We're realistic with our hard rebuild timelines. For an average league, it's going to take you 2 full off seasons to rebuild. I have personally found I can do it in 1 off season, because I'm playing in leagues that typically will trade enough with me. If you're not, it's going to take you longer, but on average, it ends up being 2 years. And so even though this guy, the point of this video is not here, change your hard rebuild into a contending team in 6 months. This is how it's done. And if you do it effectively, you can do it in a shorter amount of time. And again, real quick, one last look at this. The trades chart, the total trades here. He did this with 3 big market value wins. 9 small market values, 7 lateral moves, and a market value loss. And 13 of these picks, by the way, had rookie pick, or sorry, 13 of these trades had rookie picks in them. So
Where he
you
was
talk
trading
about
away
the
rookie picks.
importance of owning rookie picks. A lot of you guys are selling off all your 26s because it's the next worst class and whatever. It's a terrible mistake, especially if you're on a rebuild or a reload. It's a terrible mistake, and they can literally take you from a rebuild to a contending team if you play your cards right. And you should play your cards right as well. Do this, guys. Go make market value trades. Take small market value wins, even lateral moves. It's never too late to start trading in your Dynasty leagues. And for just $1 a day, a cup of coffee a day, you can help a poor Dynasty trader that is in need make better Dynasty trade. No, I'm just kidding. You do have an opportunity, though, if you'd like to get a team blueprint. We're doing these for free for all of our annual motherflockers. Everything that Steely did here was included in his membership, right? He's gotten multiple team blueprints, but the initial one, the infinite blueprint, an update on that every single month. He messages us all the time. He uses all the tools on the site, the trade calculator, the rankings, everything. So again, we can get your team in here, give you a second opinion. Nathan and I do all of these personally. Flockfantasy.com/domain, code domain. The annual motherflocker tool will get you a free team blueprint. And again, everything that comes with this process, we can help walk you through that. And so you can check that out in the link below. But this was a fun video. We appreciate you guys watching. We love you guys, and we'll see you here soon.